What's good, my good people? This is your boy Mzizi, or you can call me Peter. If you are new in this channel, please make sure you subscribe so that you can get notified anytime we post a new video. And without wasting time, today's class is all about Java generics. Okay, how you can use generics in Java. Okay, and for us to do that, I'm going to give you an example of a class cast exception and error. Okay, class cast exception error, and then we're going to see how we can solve that error using Java generics. Okay, so you can follow along. If you have a computer, you can go on and type. Okay, but it's good to practice as I'm teaching. So let's start by creating a method. The public static void main is the method, and then you can see that we have it carries us an array. Okay, and also we have an argument over there. Okay, so let's start by introducing a list. Okay, and this list is gonna carry numbers. Okay, numbers, and then these numbers will be in array list. Okay, so we have an array list of numbers. So over here I'm gonna say numbers, and then I'm gonna add a number, an integer. So this one is primitive type. Okay, so I'm just commenting so that you can fully understand what is happening. So that's a primitive type, and then after that we're gonna add another number, gonna add a string, and then we'll say this is 2. This is a string. So I'm gonna comment again and say this is a string type, just like that. Okay, then after this we're gonna do a loop. So we're gonna say for numbers, then numbers, and then we're gonna print it out. So we're gonna say out, then we'll print those numbers just like that, and then over here we'll add an object. Okay, so if I print this, I'll be able to print number 1 and number 2, okay, with no errors. So I'll be able to print number 1 and number 2, as you can see. So let me reprint it one more time. Okay, so I'm gonna print number, just like that. So run. So I'm able to print number 1 and number 2, okay, with no error. But let's have an example where I'm introducing a string over here. So let me put some parentheses and type string. Okay, so the reason why I'm typing a string here is because we have a number that is represented as a string, and also a number that is represented as an integer. So I can also go ahead and type this and say this is an integer, just like that. So that one is an integer. So I can work with either an integer or a string, because I have an integer and a string down here. So I'm adding this integer over here inside the number because I want to print an integer. So if I print this, I'm gonna get an error. Okay, so if I go ahead and run this, I'm gonna get an error. If I change this and put a string in here, I'm also gonna receive the same error. Okay, so let's go ahead and run. So as you can see, I'm receiving an error. Okay, and the error is a class cast exception error. Okay, that's the error that I'm receiving. So if I go ahead and comment this part over here, just comment like that, and go ahead and run, I'm able to print 2. okay, just because I introduced a string inside here. Okay, so that means I'm gonna only print a string. Okay, but if I go ahead and take this out and run it like that, I'm gonna get an error. And what is the reason? So this is where I'm going to introduce generics, because you can see that we're getting an error. Everything over here is nice. We ain't receiving any error, but we are getting a class exception. Okay, but we don't really have an error over here. Okay, so that's where generic comes in. Okay, so if I go ahead and take this string out and come over here and add a data type, and let's say I'm gonna add an integer. So if I go ahead and add an integer over here, you will see that immediately I get where the error is. Okay, so that's the beauty about generics. Okay, if this is a generic, this is using generics. Okay, I'm using generics over here to identify where the error is coming from. Okay, so if I get rid of this, okay, if I get rid of that, okay, and try and print string over here again, and try and print string over here. So if I print, I'm going to explain it one more time. So if I print, I'm going to get an error. Okay, and it's a class exception error. Okay, but I really don't know exactly where the problem is. Okay, so in order to avoid this kind of an issue where you really don't understand where the problem is, so that's the time you introduce generics. And the way you introduce generics is by using a data type. Okay, so which kind of data type do you want us to use? So we have a string and we have an integer. So let's go ahead and type string. Previously we used an integer, so let's right now use a string. So if I use a string, that means that the numbers that are supposed to be written here are supposed to be only strings. Okay, no integers. Okay, so if I go ahead and run this program, okay, it's easy to identify where the error is, because you can see that we have an incompatible type. Int cannot be converted to java.lang.string, and this is at line 9. You can see we have it at line 9. So over here, if I place my cursor over there, you see that it says the required type is string. Okay, but I provided an integer. So change the variable number type from list to integer. Okay, you can change this from list to integer. You can also go ahead and convert this one from an integer to a string. So that's what I'm going to do. So if I go ahead and put double quotes and add 1, you see that there is no error. So if I go ahead and print this, I'm able to print the numbers again. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is that we use generics to probably identify where the error is. Okay, so that we can catch the error and be able to solve that error. Okay, so yeah, so join me on my next video as I explain example 2. So let me give you another example so that you can fully understand how generic works. Okay, so over here let's add our method. So just say main. So our main method is public static void, which is our main method. Then over here I'm just gonna type comparable. Okay, and then I'm gonna say comparable number is equals to, let's say 8, just like that. And then down here I'm just gonna say number dot comparable to, in brackets, string, and then let me say 8, right, just like that. And then over here I'm gonna do some semicolons. Okay, so we have an integer 8. This is an integer, so let me go ahead and say an integer, I think so. Yeah, man, I'm not really good in replace it with an integer. Okay, then we have and this is a string. Okay, so this is a string over there. So the first one is that we have an integer, okay, and also we are trying to compare it with a string, and this down here is a string. Okay, so when we run the program, we're gonna receive a class exception error because we can't compare an integer together with a string. So let's go ahead and use generic to solve this error. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I will copy this just like that, Control C, and then I'm gonna comment, then I'm gonna comment these two just like that, and then I'm gonna jump over here, and then I'm gonna paste, Control V, just like that. If I go ahead and add an integer over here, okay, that means I'm gonna get an error on the string side. Okay, and if I go ahead and change this and add a string over here, I'm gonna get an error on the integer side. Okay, so let me say if I use a double quote over here, so if I go ahead and get rid of these double quotes over here, 1 and 2, just like that. Okay, and probably change this to an integer. Okay, so you see that the error will disappear, and I can be able now to print both of them without any error. I can go ahead and say string. Okay, so this one will remain to be a string, just like that. And then over here I can also change this from, just put 8, and also change that to a string. So you can see that I'm not going to receive any error. Reason is because I have specified the data type over here. Okay, and that's the beauty of generics. Okay, so if I go ahead and print this, so south, and then I'm gonna say number, then dot comparable to, let's say comparable to what, to 8. Okay, so if I go ahead and print this, I'm gonna get a 0. Okay, because you cannot compare any number. Okay, they are all the same. So if I go ahead and say this is 7, comparable to 7, so if I go ahead and print, I think I'm gonna get 1 printed out. So yeah, you see, so comparable to 1. So if I go ahead and say 9 over here and run this, I'm gonna get a negative, yeah, -1. Okay, so those are the two examples on how generic is used to solve issues in Java. So let's go ahead and learn how to use parameters and type arguments. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is that I will add a method over here. So this is the main method, just like that. If I go ahead and type list, just L, okay, you see that we have an E over here, and it's surrounded by a diamond sign, greater or lesser than. Okay, so this E basically means it's a type. This is a type, and this type can take in any data type. Okay, it can take in any data type. So let's go ahead and type a list, and let's say this data type will be string. Okay, and then we're gonna say a string of names, and then this is an array list. Okay, so just like that. So the type argument in our example here is the string. So this is the type argument. So what you're gonna do is that when you specify the data type of the list, the way I've done here, I've specified this to be string. So when you specify the data of a list, you can only work with the data type you just specified. So you cannot just come down here and start writing integers. Okay, so if I have specified I'm gonna work with string, so that's what I'm gonna work with all the way down. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say names dot add, and then if I add an integer over there, I'm gonna get an error because this is not a string. Okay, this is not a string. So you see that the required type is string, but I provided an integer, so we'll have to change the data type from integer from string to integer. Okay, so I'm gonna get an error. But if I go ahead and just say double quotes and add 1, you see the error disappears. Okay, because I'm working with strings. Okay, so the type argument in our example is, so let's go ahead and use another data type. So let's go ahead and copy this. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this, Control C, and down here let me use an integer. Okay, an integer just like that, and then I'm gonna say this integer is it's gonna take numbers. Okay, and I'm gonna change this from name to numbers just like that, and I'm gonna add a number which is 1. Okay, so you can see that no error because we are working with integers here, and also we are working with the strings over here. Okay, so if I go ahead and press Control N, okay, and type list, let's just say list over here, so click on this, you see that I'm gonna get a list and the data type over here. So this is supposed to take in a list and a data type. And also if I go ahead and type, say Control N, and type what we call map, just like that. Okay, and then click enter, you can see that. So you can see that in the map I get 2 parameters, okay, K and V. Okay, so let's go ahead and say down here, let's go ahead and say map. Okay, as you can see, before we type map, so let's go ahead and type map. Okay, and you can see that we have K and V. So this map, this is a map, and inside here let's put a string, and then we have a comma, and also you can say a string just like that. And then over here we can say map is equals to new, and then let's say a hash map just like that. Okay, and also you can copy this, Control C, and then paste it over here, and also change this and say this is supposed to be probably maybe a point just like that. And also here you can say this is a double just like that. So let's go ahead and import this class. Okay, and then let's say this is map2 like that, just to clear the error. Okay, so now you know about the parameter types and arguments. Okay, so this is how we use it. Quickly let me explain. So you see that if you specify the data type, you need to use that data type, okay, all the way down. So in this example we specify the data type as string, okay, and we are using string. So the same way, if you specify the integer, okay, you need to use all those data types down here. They're supposed to be an integer. If I go ahead and say numbers, okay, dot add, and then if I add 2 over there, which is a string, I'm gonna get an error unless I get rid of that, okay, and use 2, because a 2 is an integer and we are using the data type integer. So if I also go ahead down here, we have maps. Okay, so if I click Control N and type maps, you can see that we have map, and also we have two data types. Okay, so we have the type of key maintained by this map. Okay, and then the type parameters, we have k and v. Okay, so I'm going to explain what k and v means on my next video. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So join me on my next video as we continue talking about generics. So let's go ahead and learn how naming convention really works. Okay, so over here, if I type list, you see that we have an E over here. So let's go ahead and really see what this E means. Okay, so down here we have these are used for naming convention. So we have E, okay, and E is an element, stands for element, used extensively by the Java framework. Okay, for example, in an array list, as you have seen that we have used it with array list. Okay, and also you can use it with sets and many others. And key is used in map. Okay, so over here key, which stands for k. Okay, k stands for key. Okay, so over here let me do Control N and then type map. Okay, map, and as you can see we have k and v. Okay, so k is used with maps. Okay, and it stands for key. Same thing as a v over here, and v is a value used in map. Okay, n stands for number, and then t stands for type. Okay, so you really need to understand this, and because these are the main naming convention, this is how you name them. E is an element, k is a key, n is a number, t is a type, and v is a value. Okay, so let me go ahead and type Control N and just type list. Okay, a list, and you can see that this E over here is a type parameter, and E, the type of element in this list. Okay, so E stands for an element, and it's a type of element in this list. Okay, so let's go ahead and type Control N again, Control N, and type map. Okay, and then we have map, we have k and v. So k stands for key. Okay, it's a type of key maintained by this map. Okay, and v is a value, and this is the type of mapped value. Okay, so you can go ahead and read all these so that you can understand more about these key words. Okay, k, these data types, k, v, n, t. Okay, so what they really mean. So basically this is what I wanted to just let you know in this video. So let's go ahead and learn how we use generic with classes in Java. Okay, how we use generic in classes with classes in Java. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create a new class over here, and I'm gonna call this class a box, just like that. Okay, and this class is a box, and what we want to do is that we want to put data types inside this box over here. So what we can do is that we will introduce generics, and we're gonna do a diamond sign over here, and you can see that the type parameter is expected. So I'm just gonna type t. So this is the data type. Okay, and let's go ahead and create a variable. So I'm just gonna say private this t over here, and then we have t. Okay, so this t basically means that this is the data type that we specified. Okay, this is the data type that we specified over here. Okay, and then t is just a variable. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a method. So what I'm gonna do, I'll just set, just like that. I'm gonna create a setter, and then I'm gonna create a getter, just like that, and then I'm just gonna do a toString. Okay, add a toString. So basically we have created a class, okay, and the class name is box. We have introduced a data type, which T stands for type, okay, and then what we have done, we have created a variable, and this T stands for the data type that we will put inside our box, and also this T is a variable, okay. Then after that we did getters and setters, public void set T, okay, and then we did a get, okay, so public T. Okay, let me get rid of that. So it said public T get, and then we will return T. Okay, then we did a toString. Okay, then yeah, this is it. Then what we will do is that we will create some classes, and these classes we will be able to save them inside our box. Okay, so let me show you how we will do that. Okay, so we'll create maybe 2 classes, then those 2 classes we will be able to save them inside our box. So our classes will be the data type. Okay, so over here, very quickly, let's go ahead and create a class, and this class will call this car. Okay, just a car, just like that. Okay, so and then what we will do is that oops, sorry. So let's create some properties over here, and I'm gonna say this is private string, and this car, let's say this is type. Which type of car is this? Okay, so this is gonna be type. Then after that I'm gonna do a constructor. So I'm gonna come over here and do constructors, create some constructors. Okay, just like that, and then I'm gonna do getters. Okay, and also I'm gonna do setters, just setters type, just like that. Then I'm gonna do a toString. Okay, so this class is over. Okay, so the next class, let's go ahead and create another class, and probably say the next class is what, headphones, head, and then fonts, just like that. Okay, inside here I'm just gonna create a property, say private string, and then the property is what, brand. Okay, so you can say brand, just like that. Okay, and then we're gonna do constructor. Okay, so let's add constructor over there. We are just trying to keep these classes very simple. Okay, then we're gonna do getters, and then we'll do setters, just like that, and down here we're gonna do toStrings, just like that. Okay, so this class is a simple one. Okay, so we have a class called headphones. Okay, and also we have a car over here, and then we have a box over there. So let's go ahead and create the last class over here, and this class, let's say generics. Let's call it just like that, generics. Okay, and then let's introduce our main method, just like that, and here let's do a box. Okay, and then this box name, let's let it be just a box. Okay, and then new, and then box, just like that. Okay, so what we will do is that we have box, and then we have a car, and we have headphones. We say that we want to make sure that we save this data type box, a car and a headphone inside our box. As you can see over here, we specify that this data type, okay, we specified generics, we specified the type over here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that we will add our classes inside this box. So let's go back to our generics and create the two diamond sign. Then inside here I'm gonna put a car, just like that. Okay, so we can see that this car is inside this box. Okay, so let's do let's say box over here, and then dot set new. Okay, and then let's say set new car, and it's gonna be, what's the name of the car, the type of the car. Let's say this is a Ferrari, just like that. Okay, Ferrari, hope that's the spelling, Ferrari. Okay, then what I'm gonna do is that I'll just do a sort. Okay, and I'm gonna do a sort box dot get. Okay, then if I run this, you see that I'm gonna get the car. Okay, and the type is Ferrari. Okay, then I can do the same thing with the headphones. I can say box, then box 1, okay, is equals to new, then we have box semicolons. Down here I can say box, okay, but I have to specify the data type, and we say that we are adding classes inside the box, so this is gonna be headphones, just like that. So let's go ahead and say box, which is box 1, okay, dot. Now let's set the headphones to headphone new, then headphones, and then the headphones, what's the type? Let's say Beats by Drake. I like this kind of headphones, Beat by Drake, just like that. Then let me print this out. Let's say out, and then let's print what? Let's print box 1 dot, and then get. So let me go ahead and run this, and as you can see that we are able to print now the headphones, and then we say that the brand is Beat by Drake. Okay, so over here we just use generics. Okay, we created a box. Let me quickly explain this. So we created this box, this class called box over here, and we say that what we'll get in this box will be classes. Okay, so this is the data type. Okay, then after that we went ahead and created a car as a class, headphones as a class. Okay, then we also created generics over here so that we can put this car inside the box. So as you can see, we have box, and then we have a car inside the box, and then the type of the car is Ferrari, and then the second one we have a box, and then we have headphones inside the box, and then the type of the brand of the headphones are Beat by Drake. Then we printed them out over here. So this is how we use Java generics, okay, with classes in Java. See you on the next video.